Welcome, this is Hugh Massey from DNA Behaviour. In this session, I'm going to focus on the financial DNA group report that comes from the Financial Natural Behaviour Discovery. The group report is a consolidation of two or more people's profiles from them having individually completed the natural behaviour discovery. So in a way, this is the next step from the comparison report. And the objective of the group report is to highlight the differences that exist within a group. Typically with financial DNA, we use the group report in family settings. And so I'm going to take you through a family case study for the Jones family. This is a build on to the previous session that I did, walking you through the family facilitation process that we adopt. It starts with the individual reports, the comparison report, and builds up to the group report. So in this session, I'm going to just drill in on the process for looking at a group report, and it can be a family or it can be any other kind of group where there's more than two people involved. And I re-emphasize that one of the most difficult things to do in life and business, whether you're a family, whether you're a leader of a team or working in a group, is to deal with differences. To understand what those differences are, to accept them, to respect them, and then just to work with them to get the most out of those differences is very difficult. It's often the derailer of performance, productivity, decision making. It can get in the way. But of course, if you can harness the differences, then it can be a very powerful asset for creating wealth, positive relationships, life diversity. So there's a lot at stake in dealing with differences. So with the financial DNA group report, the first part here is in this table is that we show each group member. They've all individually completed their financial DNA discoveries. The leader is Tom Jones. So he's highlighted in, name is highlighted in blue there. He's the family leader. He's the patriarch of the family. His wife is actually Kathy Jones there. She's a reflective thinker. They're relatively opposite profiles, being an initiated and reflective thinker. And then there's the three children. Elizabeth being the oldest child, Eric the second child, and Christina the younger child. And then here's their strongest behavioural factors. So we don't just want to know what their unique style is, the 1 of 10 unique styles. We also want to know their strongest behavioural factors, because that will provide more insights to their decision-making styles, what motivates them, is driving them, what their perspectives on the world are. I always like to emphasise that in families, the three children were brought up in the same home, probably with very similar values. You would expect that. Same messages, probably in most cases had the same opportunities, although that isn't always true, because things change inside families for financial, health, life reasons, but generally speaking, you would expect that. But they will all have very different perspectives of their family life, of the wealth, what they want to happen in the future. The directions of their lives will be very different. They'll have different perceptions of their parents. And a lot of that comes from their life worldview, which is inherently related to their natural behaviour style. And that's why this is so foundational as a starting point to addressing family wealth transitions, building cohesiveness in a family. You've got to understand the different perspectives, which comes from the natural behaviour. And from that comes the different money perspectives. We like to see in the family the degree to which they are results and relationship focused. So in this family, there's 3 of them are results focused. So they're going to be more about creating wealth, thinking about the financial, business, monetary issues, and then there will be two of them that are more relationship orientated. So having a harmonious family existence will be important for them, and they will seek to deal with those issues first. At the end of the day, it brings a lot of strength to the family if there's a good balance. So out of the five, this is a reasonably good balance for this family of results and relationship focus. Then if you blend together their behavioral factors, this is the combination. So their group quality life attitude number one is based on the pioneer factor. So they're going to be more goal driven, about achievement, wealth creation will be important, having a high impact. And then their quality life attitude number two, when you combine them, is being fast paced. So they're about results, returns, being somewhat logical. So you can see this is a family that's somewhat driven. They want to create wealth. That's what's happened within the family unit. And in the way that the picture is of the family is told here, although remembering each family member is unique and not all of them are going to be pioneers and fast paced. I would point out that if you go back to the son's profile, Eric, for example, up here, he's more anchored. He is somewhat pioneering, but actually he's not as driven as some of the other family members. Then we've got the financial planning insights for the family. The high scores are those at 70 or more, and the low scores are those under 30. There are no low scores in here, but we can see they do want to set a course of action for themselves. So there's a drive to do that. So that's good that they want to get together and address the family wealth for the future, the estate planning, the succession planning for the business, and they're reasonably overall ambitious with their plans. Then in this area here, we start to see the differences more clearly. And, for example, the father, Tom, is reasonably take charge. His daughter is a bit more take charge. She's the one that wants to take over the business. The mother is a bit more cooperative. She wants to fit in. So we can start to see the differences in the family unit here. We've got generally more middle range behaviours from Eric all the way through as the facilitator. He's not an adapter, which is more flexible in every area, but he's close to it, and you'll see him come in the middle. And then we've got some more extreme behaviours from Elizabeth and Christina. There's a bit of a fight for the limelight here. You can see they're actually similar. So whilst we talk a lot about differences, and the differences can divide, but if brought together, they can be assets. We also want to know the similarities, because similarities will mean shared perspectives, but there can be clashes if they don't sort out the territory between them. And so that's an issue. Actually was the issue inside this family, is the role of Elizabeth and Christina in the family business, because Eric essentially excluded himself, didn't want to be involved. The family's not as patient, so they're going to be to the bottom line pretty quickly. They'll want a fast-paced family meeting, and it, whilst conversation is important, they're not going to dwell on the issues as much, and they can get into it and solve the problems rather than it being more relationally done with more group conversations, more group exercises. These guys will want to get on with it. That's important for a facilitator to know. Kathy, the mother, is extremely planned, so that's a big difference in the family to the rest of them. where they're a bit more unstructured, or in that area. Reasonably middle range on trust in the family, which is good, and the father a little bit more skeptical and discerning. So he's just going to be careful about what happens and tread through it with a bit more discernment and making decisions. No one on the extreme on trusting. So what you are looking for is areas where there is an extreme behavior that could influence the family. Down here, we can see this is where, the dominance of the trait of the family being pioneering. Everybody is quite strong there. Even with Christina at 49 as the lowest, she's middle range, can step it up, and then Elizabeth extreme. No one's just lifestyle focused there. So this is not a family that just wants to sit around and do nothing. They really want to build their wealth, set a pathway for the future. They're risk takers, and then they're balanced on the creativity. And then here's where we can see the different strengths and struggles of each family member. I think it's good for them to have understanding and acceptance of that. Often what I do in a family setting or any group or team setting is ask sort of the likability factor type question, what do you love about each family member? And you'll start to see some of these traits come out. And this is a useful framework for having that type of conversation to make people feel empowered. Everyone wants to know what their strengths are, and we should focus on that. But it's also important to understand that on the flip side of the strength is the struggle, which comes from a strength overplayed. So Tom, being quite original and imaginative, if he overdoes that, could just get easily bored and want to change things. Being reflective, he could get too withdrawn. That's how this works. Then how does each family member want to be communicated with? So the performance environment keys are important for the family members to understand what the information flows need to be within the family unit, but also for the family facilitator and the advisory team to understand what's going to be important as far as information flows and communication is concerned, to get decisions made and to maintain trust in the family unit. They need to learn to adapt to each other. I always argue or state that it should start with the leader. So Tom and then his wife, Kathy, need to adapt to the children. But of course, the children, if they're aware of their parents' styles, they can, be somewhat flexible as well, because they should be adapting too. But it's got to start with the parents. They're the leaders. And then here's the behavioural biases that exist within the family unit, and this will tell you how they're going to make decisions. And if you want more information about, the meaning of some of these terms, they sit inside the individual reports and also in the unlocking guide that we have. So that's the family group report. And the idea is that you take the insights that are in here. As a facilitator, you can ask plenty of questions about the differences. And the main thing is getting the family to see the differences and to recognise how that's going to play into building their future.